Now we go discuss two things will be probably the most important things to know for CSS. These na which we they call Flexbox and grid layout. Now, how to arrange elements for your website and the modern ways where people they arrange elements for any website where you see. You will see how the headings, the sections, the boxes they arranged on the website. Now either Flexbox or grid. Now in there they use. We will cover both Flexbox and grid, but we will start with Flexbox for now. Now, first thing to do to use Flexbox now to create one container we go be flex container. This container fit be paragraph, it fit be div, it fit be any block element, but 99% of the time na div we dey use. So you go create one div will be the container of all the things where you want arrange, all the elements where you want arrange. If it be image, if it be paragraph, if it be text, headings, you go create one div we go contain all of them, we go hold them. You will unset this div as display flex. When you set an element as flexbox with displayed flex, it go automatically become flexbox and everything inside the div go become flex items. Now, to see our container will be the div will contain the other elements. I go give them background color and padding. Now, you go see say this box now we get this background color. Na in be the flex container will contain all our other elements. I'm not that property where we they give flexbox na gap. Now this gap property, anything where we set them to now go be the gap between all our elements inside that flexbox. Now, this gap go create separation and you fit change them, you fit increase the distance, you fit decrease them, but you go notice saying that inside the container, the div will contain the other elements, like with the add display flex and the gap. We get some properties where you will add to the individual items inside the flex container. But first, you go make the div will contain them to be display flex and you go set the gap of the children, that is the flex items, where they inside the container. To get even more control over the items for your Flexbox, you got style the items themselves. Now, individually, all the items with the inside our Flexbox for this project, we go give them a class of flex item. Inside your flex container, you fit get heading, paragraph, but you also fit get divs, more divs, and these divs will be flex items with the inside flex container. You fit make them display flex themselves so that they too go act as flex container to anything with the inside them as well. And all these classes where we they give them, like this one we give them the class of flex container, this one we give them the class of flex item. No be the style o. Remember, classes like anything where you name your class. If it be anything. So just because we name this one flex item and we name this one flex container, you know me say this flex item to no fit behave as flex container. All these classes na those names. Now wetin you put for your CSS file as display flex, now you go make them act as flex container. Now for our flex items, we go set the CSS with a few properties. We go first give them background color. We go also give them padding and borders and border radius to make sure say the edge they rounded. Now another important property to give for flex container na the flex direction. The flex direction na go show how all the items wey dey inside your flex container go dey arranged. The default na row. So if you don't give any flex direction property, all the items wey dey inside your flex container go dey like the default, go dey like this, like mama. But if you want change the direction from row, then you will use flex direction of column. Now, you see say for row, they dey side by side. Now the flex direction with that. Row just mean side by side. But if you use column, then they go dey stacked on top of each other. So column na on top, while row na side by side. Another flex direction we get na row reverse. Row reverse na just row. but he go start from the end and from the back. He go start with your last element and end with the first element. And we get column reverse will also be column. We go start from the last instead of from the first. Now, when you get your div will be flex container where you make display flex, automatically everything with the inside go arrange itself as flex direction of row. But now if you want change them, if you change them to any of these ones like column reverse or row reverse. Another thing, another important property to give your flex container na wrap. This wrap just dey show wetin go happen if the window of your browser dey too small to accommodate all the rows of your Flexbox. So flex wrap gets two options, wrap and no wrap. If you give the property as wrap, you may say all the items as the window dey smaller, they go move on to the next line, they go wrap to the next line. If you give am no wrap, it means say they tell am say no move to the next line, just keep them on their same row regardless of the size of the window. Now, we don't see how to arrange our elements as flex items and how to make them rows and columns. The next thing na how to determine where them go be for inside the box, for inside the flex container. For this, we go use align items and justify content. Justify content, they decide how our items go dey arranged on the main axis. Main axis na where you do your flex direction to. If you do your flex direction to row, then justify content go determine how your items go line up on that row horizontally. Now, we get plenty of options. If you do your justify content as flex start, it means that all your items go shift to the start of the box. All the elements go align to the start of the box will be the left side. If you give a flex end, this one will move them to the end of the box, which is the right side. And if you also give as center, we go put all your items in the center. Other common options ma space between, space around, and space evenly. If you give your justify direction as space between, you go leave equal space between the items, but no space between the start and the end of the box. So it go distribute everything inside your box, leaving space between the items for no space between the start and the end. If you use space around, you go leave equal space between the items and space at the edges. But the space at the edges at the left and right no go be equal. It go just be half of the spaces with the in between your items. Another one we get na space evenly. Space evenly go leave equal space between the elements and also equal space between the start and end of the box. Now, we don't cover a lot for Flexbox. And if you understand them up to this point, congratulations. If you don't understand them well, may I give you quick recap. Flexbox. Now, what do they use arrange elements for our website? Remember, I tell you, say every element for your HTML, CSS, they see am as box. So you feel use this flex display to automatically align all your elements inside one container like div, where you don't make display flex. Once you make that container display flex, every element with the inside will automatically arrange itself in a row. Now, once they automatically arrange in a row, you feel use flex direction to change the rows, and you feel use gap to change the spaces between each of these elements. This one is very important. For instance, if you they make navigation menu or even sections for inside your main website display, if you quickly put them inside container and make that container display flex, you go automatically arrange everything in a row. And then if you can use justify content to align them, maybe you want put them to the left or to the right, or you want put equal spaces between them. Now, Flexbox, you go use drum. Now, after justify content, we get align items. I tell you, say justify content, we take the user, align our items in the horizontal side. That is the main axis for our flex row. If you want align them vertically, you want decide how it will be vertical wise. Now, align items you go use. May I quickly show you some options wey we get for align items to decide how our elements go align vertically. We get stretch. This stretch, if we give our align items as stretch, e go stretch our elements to occupy the full size of the box. May I increase the height so that you go fit see this one. Another option for align items na flex start. Flex start go push them to the start, just like justify content. But the difference na say aligned items na for vertical, while justify content na for horizontal. Now, why if we use justify content, you go align them to the left because na the start of the horizontal axis be that. But since align items na the vertical, if we say start na the top of a vertical line, so it go move am to the top. Now, this one now tell you say you fit use align items and justify content together, so that if you use align item as start, you go put them to the start of your vertical axis, that you go put them to the top. And then if you can't join them with justify content to the start, you go push them to the left. So both of them together go mean top and left. Another option will you get for your align item na flex end. We go put them to the end, which is the bottom in this case. You know, say the end for the justify na the right, cause again now for horizontal. In terms of vertical, the end na the bottom. And then we also fit use align items center. We go put them to center. Now, why if we want center our div, we dey always use align items to center and justify content to center as well. Now, don't forget, say all of these properties, justify content, align items, we dey use them on the box will be the container. For the individual boxes themselves will be the flex items. The CSS properties really fit use now flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basics. Flex basis na the size of your flex item before it starts to dey grow or shrink. Now, you fit add the same size for all your flex items. If we use flex basics of 150 pixels, you just dey talk say, okay, the size of all my flex items before we start to increase or decrease our window size now 150 pixels. Of course, if you want, you fit also give each individual item different flex basics. That's different size initially. But flex grow, now here you go come decide how they go behave if we increase the window size, how they go grow. This one are mainly for responsiveness because most people get different screen size. So if they talk say, okay, how make these flex items behave if the screen size they increase? Now Wetin flex grow they about be that. Now, if I add flex grow 1 to one box and I add flex grow 2 to another box, and both of them get the same initial size flex basis, if we increase the window size, this one where I give 1, it does mean here I dey tell am say you grow by half of wetin this one will get 2 go grow. Make I show you the example. You see say as we dey increase the window, this one with flex grow 2 they increase larger than this one with flex grow 1. If I change them to flex grow 3, it go dey increase 3 times more than this one with flex grow 1. And if I change them to the same value, let's say 1 1 or 2 2, they go dey increase the same way. Now, flex shrink, not the same, but for the opposite direction. For if we shrink our window size, if we decrease the window size, we talk say, okay, by how much these things go reduce. So if we give one flex shrink of 1 and we give another flex shrink of 2, you may say with the talk say maybe the one we get 2, they shrink faster more than the one we get flexible of 1. And if we give them the same flex shrink, with the talk say made them shrink the same way. If we give them 0, it means they made them no shrink at all. Just like if we give our flex grow 0, it means say made them no grow at all. You fit also combine your flex basics, flex grow, and flex shrink together for one line. You will use them like this. You go say flex 1 1 200 pixels. The first value na the flex grow. The second value na the flex shrink. and the third value na the flex basis. So for this one now, we dey talk say, okay, make this item get a basis of 200 pixels where it go start from. And if we grow am, make it grow by 1. And if we shrink am, make it shrink by 1. Now, we go do quick practical. We go make all these ones dey very clear to you. For our HTML, we go build a navigation section. This navigation section are the menu of our website. We go use our nav element, and inside we will get div for our logo. Then we go get unordered lists. We go be our navigation links. The links we go get na home, about, services, and contacts, like you dey see for most websites. Then after, we will get button element to sign in. Now all of these things, we go come put am inside one container will be our nav element. Remember, for the last example, we use div as our flex container. If we use any block element, this time we go use nav element to be our container. We go come give this nav element a class of nav bar. For our CSS now, we go come make this nav bar class a flex box by using display flex. Immediately we turn them to display flex, everything inside, the logo, the nav links, the buttons, everything will start to behave as flex items, and they go arrange themselves in a row, because again, I tell you, our default flex direction na row. If you change the flex direction to colon, then everything will arrange vertically on top of each other. And if you make them back to row, you go come back to side by side. Now, we go use some of the properties we don't learn for our flex items. The first one we will use now, justify content. We will use this justify content to give space between, which, remember, I tell you, say space between will give equal spaces between each items in your flex box, each flex items, but you know, will give any space between the left and the right border. Another property we'll go use now, align items. We go align items center to put our object, our items center, that is vertically. Then we will give them adding, and we go make the background color white. We go also give them box shadow property. We go give us one beautiful shadow for under this border. Now for our nav links, will be these individual links where we get, we go also make them display flex. Remember, say I tell you, say you fit get Flexbox inside Flexbox. If you go back to our HTML, you will see say all these our nav links. Now inside these unordered list, then they be treated as still one box. You just say inside this box we get more items. Meanwhile, our other box like our logo and our button, now just one box themselves. So now to arrange these items inside our nav links, so I will that again as flex items. We go first make the container flex box. We go set them to display flex. We will give them gap of 2 rem, and we go use this list style to remove the normal bullet point where we receive for lists. Now you dey learn how to style list as well. So you go remove the bullet point by using this list style non-CSS property. Then you go set the margin and padding to 0, because lists they also come with margin and padding of their own. To remove that one and make them behave normally, you go remove the margin and padding. Finally, we go style the links themselves. We go use this child selector to show say, okay, we dey target the A anchor link, but only the A anchor link with the inside our nav links class. Now why we write them like this? We change the text decoration to none so that you no go get any default decoration, and we go change the color to black. As you dey learn more CSS properties, you fit even apply some fancy CSS to your links so that when they click them, it will behave in a certain way. You fit add animation and all. And that's at the end of Flexbox. You don't know most of the things where other programmers not even know about Flexbox. You don't know how to arrange your elements as flex items, how the elements where they inside your flex containers will behave, how you fit add gap between them, how you fit make them align to either the center or the start or the end vertically and horizontally.